So today we're going to talk about awkward conversations. We've all had them, but the point of talking about them is so that we don't let our fear of them get in the way of the really important conversations, the really important people that we have in our lives. So what drives these awkward conversations and awkward silences? For one, taboo subjects. Like these, drugs, religion, politics, and sex can all be really awkward topics for people. They can drive wedges between family members, and sometimes we agree to disagree, but other times our convictions are so strong that we really let them get in the way of our relationships with people. So today I don't want to speak theoretically at all. I'm going to talk personally, like this conversation that I had to have with my parents a few years ago. And I remember how terrified I was, and I cried and blubbered through the entire thing, actually. But it didn't go as badly as I expected it to. It wasn't rainbows and unicorns, but they didn't say anything terribly harsh. It just got quiet. And the silence actually lasted for a few years about this. It was the it was the pink elephant in the room. We didn't talk about dating. We didn't talk about kids and marriage. So it was almost like the family don't ask, don't tell policy. And at first I thought, silence isn't so bad, right? No, I'm kidding. 20 seconds can feel like 20 years, though, and for some families it really does last that long. And there are all kinds of things that we're silent about, not just the topic of being gay. So, we really just want to address these topics today, and so that's why I'm up here. So whatever the reason for the estrangement, there are certain factors that drive this breakdown in conversation. So whenever you feel like the cat's got your tongue, try to identify exactly what it is that's causing you to be silent. These reasons are things that are universal, so I invite you to take these in the context of whatever it is in your life. So when you're really surprised about something, just shock and not knowing what to say can be a reason that we're silent with one another. So a lot of times people just need time to digest the information and figure out how they even feel about it. If that's the case for you after someone tells you something surprising, communicate that to them, because otherwise they get stuck feeling like, is it one of those situations of if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all? Another time that we're silent with people is when we don't speak the same language as each other. It could be French, it could be text speak, but it could be gay speak. I mean, if you don't have the right vocabulary to have this conversation, then you're left silent. What does LGBT mean? Is gay a politically correct term? Is gay used only for guys, or is it used for girls too? These kinds of questions can be awkward to ask if you don't have someone that you trust as a resource. Even worse is when there's actual disagreement. People don't communicate well when you disagree about things, and it's common for parents to not like it and not agree if their kid tells them that they're gay. So one of the main things that causes a break in conversation about this topic is religious convictions. So if you have a church that tells you that homosexuality is a sin, but then you have someone really dear to you come out to you, how do you deal with that, and who do you turn to as a fair resource who can bridge that gap? Among my group of friends, one of the main reasons that parents hesitated in responding to that conversation was that they didn't want to encourage their child to live an alternative lifestyle. And this just comes out of love. They're just scared that their child is going to face a more difficult life. And so really, them being loving ended up being them being silent. Self-doubt is another reason that parents are quiet. A lot of them are shamed by this, and they don't want their friends to find out that they have a gay child. They might be afraid that their friends are going to look down on them or not agree, or even worse, they might be afraid that a friend is going to tell them that they did something wrong as a parent raising their child. So what can we do about it? There's no easy button. I'm not up here to tell you that there's an easy solution for these conversations, but there are resources and there are outlets for you to get your questions answered and share your experience, share your frustrations, and just be able to deal with it and get support in doing so. So Many Voices is one organization that bridges the gap between religious communities and the LGBT community. Too often, people take one side or the other, and they're kind of against each other. So if you are a religious person and you're dealing with these topics, it can be really hard to get a fair assessment, or just, someone to answer your questions. The Human Rights Campaign also has a great resource. My parents, their biggest issue with it or concern was that I'd face discrimination in the job market. I didn't. Luckily, I have a wonderful boss, but a lot of workplaces aren't very open-minded, so the Human Rights Campaign has put together a list of organizations that have gay-friendly hiring practices and policies. PFLAG is an organization made up of parents and family members of gay and lesbian people who openly support their gay loved ones, and so this can be a really great organization to bridge that gap as well. And then next, I want to talk about an organization that I founded a few months ago, and we have our co-chairs in the audience. It's called Still My Child, and it's for the parents and siblings and grandparents and friends and whoever of the gay community who are really struggling to deal with this topic. We're just in our infancy, so we are looking for people who are interested in becoming involved. But it started for me out of a very personal realization that I had a really easy time with this journey because I had so many wonderful resources and people supporting me, but that my parents really had no one to turn to, no one who got it at their level, and no one who had gone through the same thing as them. So that's what Still My Child is. It's a resource for parents in that boat. And this is the last slide. It's just that there's no answer for awkward conversations. But just because it's awkward doesn't mean it's not absolutely perfect. It might be exactly the conversation you need to have with these people in your life if you love them. And I invite you to take those conversations on, as hard as they may be. That's it.